So growing up, I felt like everyone knew someone who had been diagnosed with cancer. It was so prevalent and heartbreaking, and it felt like it was all I heard about. As I got older, I experienced the same phenomenon with Alzheimer's disease, and later on the same with mental health issues. These are all heavily talked about, very real issues that our friends and families are experiencing. And these health issues follow the typical trend that as the commonality of the issue increases, awareness and conversation about this topic also increase. But over the last decade, I've seen almost nothing increase as much as the number of couples who simply cannot conceive a child. I imagine we all know someone who's experiencing the pain of infertility, yet it still remains a deeply private and quiet topic. But infertility has become so common that the worldwide in vitro fertilization, or IVF market, is expected to reach $37.4 billion in 2030. Worldwide, roughly 1 in 5 couples experience infertility, making it a highly prevalent issue that is largely flying under the radar. Historically, couples' infertility is perceived as a female issue, which is a whole different type of stigma in and of itself. But in reality, roughly 50% of all cases are linked to male infertility. This is one of the few health issues that I know of that has increased significantly in commonality, yet awareness and open conversation have remained stagnant. Now, I know a good bit about this subject because I'm a reproductive and developmental biologist. My lab at the University of Georgia focuses on how environmental and lifestyle exposures impact male fertility. And my lab also seeks to develop novel stem cell-based therapies to treat the growing population of men that are experiencing infertility. In all my years in this field, I have learned, like with most health issues, that infertility is so much more than a clinical diagnosis. Infertility takes an emotional, mental, physical, and economic toll on the couples that aren't able to conceive. Even IVF, with all its outstanding successes in helping couples achieve their goal to have a child, still carries a burden, especially if it's unsuccessful. The minimal societal focus that infertility receives mainly focuses on the toll it takes on females. Yet males who are unable to impregnate their partner often experience feelings of inadequacy and shame. And these feelings impact their self-worth and self-esteem, potentially leading to issues in their personal and professional lives. We want to focus on 3 things. 1, what male infertility is, how easily exposures can impact male fertility, and what are some potential future treatment options for men that don't have any options currently. So, what is male infertility? Male infertility refers to the inability of a man to impregnate his female partner after 1 year of regular, unprotected sex. Now, there are a number of factors that define male fertility, but sperm counts represent a major indicator of reproductive health. Now, for a normal fertile man, sperm counts are equal or greater to 40 million sperm per ejaculate. Now, 40 million sperm don't actually reach the final destination to fertilize the egg. In fact, 0.0001% of all sperm actually reach the final destination, and only 1 sperm will fertilize the egg. Some really, really elegant mathematics have been done to show how reduced sperm counts impact male fertility. But math has never been my strong suit at all. My family can attest to that. So, to help visualize this complex topic, I wanted to bring in something that was near and dear to my heart, and something that was maybe a little bit too near and dear to my heart if you looked at my undergrad GPA. And that's beer pong. Okay. So, I want everybody to pretend that this cup, or this bucket of balls, represents the normal number of sperm that would reach the egg. And this red Solo cup, thank you, Red Solo Cup. They're not sponsoring this, by the way. That red Solo cup is the egg. Now, with the normal number of sperm thrown at the egg, one should go in. Let's see if I can still dust off the skills here. Oh, I made a couple. Okay. So undergrad Chaz would be proud of that. But there are all kinds of environmental exposures that can impact the starting number and ultimately affect fertility. So environmental exposures such as certain flame retardants or pesticides or other industrial topics can reduce our starting number. Lifestyle exposures such as using cannabis, alcohol, anabolic steroids, or eating a high-fat diet can also impact your sperm count. And then there are medical therapies such as irradiation and chemotherapies. These can also reduce your number. So with the starting number severely reduced, it becomes near impossible to hit the cup. So, now, in the case in certain cases where sperm counts are significantly reduced, but not zero, or when previous IVF attempts have failed, specialists can perform a procedure known as ICSI, where they directly inject the sperm into the egg. That was easy. Needed that rule when I was playing beer pong. And for more extreme cases, there are elegant procedures such as microtesty, where a specialist can directly retrieve sperm from the testis for ICSI. With all these treatment options, these very elegant treatment options only treat about 50% of patients. For patients that don't produce any sperm, there are no treatment options to currently treat their infertility. So I often receive emails and phone calls from male infertility patients all over the world. And you can deeply feel their passion and desire to have a child with their partner, no matter what it takes. Often in these emails, the men are completely caught off guard by their diagnosis, and they are devastated that they can't have a child with their partner. When I was first starting my lab, we worked with two well-known reproductive toxicants that specifically impacted male fertility. Now, I wouldn't let any of the personnel in my lab work with these chemicals because there was a high risk for causing permanent infertility or sterility. But I was single at the time. I wasn't thinking about starting a family. So for over a year and a half, I worked with these chemicals and never once thought about the problems that they could be causing me. I mean, the whole time I worked on this, I did take precautions, and I did make sure I didn't get exposed, but I never bothered to talk to a specialist or have my sperm counts tested before and after working with these chemicals. It wasn't until years later, when I started to have a family with my wife, that I even thought about what these chemicals could have done to me. Now, thankfully, my fertility wasn't compromised, but that's how easily forgettable exposures, either environmental or lifestyle exposures, can be. There's an old adage that men won't seek medical attention unless it's broken or bleeding, and I'm massively guilty of this too. My wife will attest to that. And it's this old adage and the stigma behind infertility that often prevent men from seeking diagnosis and treatment. So I want to think about a patient. I want you to think about a patient that doesn't have any sperm at all, that doesn't produce any sperm. What are we going to do for this growing patient population that have no treatment options at all to treat their infertility? Well, new therapies need to be developed to help these men, and that's what my lab strives to do. Now, what I'm about to tell you is some ongoing work in my lab using an animal model that's most similar to human sperm production, a monkey model. And so with our preclinical work, what we do is we take adult cells like skin cells and turn them into stem cells, and then turn those stem cells into either A, immature sperm-like cells, or B, transplantable testis cells. We've previously demonstrated that with our immature sperm-like cells, that are basically the early stage of cells that are becoming sperm, we've shown that these cells can fertilize a monkey egg and produce healthy monkey embryos. Now, we haven't yet taken those monkey embryos and planted it into a surrogate to produce a healthy monkey baby, but that's our shorter-term goal. So fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll see those results soon. But to be honest, this strategy still involves the female partner undergoing hormone treatments and egg collection. A less female invasive tactic, and one that I'd wager the men would prefer, is to restore natural fertility to allow the couples to conceive naturally. Which leads me to the next strategy: transplantable testis cells, or testis stem cells, that can restore natural fertility, allow couples to have a child the fun way. Now, we've transplanted some of these cells into a few animals, but it takes a few months for these cells to integrate and start producing sperm. So stay tuned for the results, and fingers crossed that it works too. So, with these two therapies, while they're exciting and innovative and important, there's still a number of hurdles that we have to climb before we can take these to clinical trials. But the mere fact that these studies and others like them that are being conducted can represent a beacon of hope for men who are experiencing unresolved fertility issues, showing them that the biomedical community is making strides toward developing treatments where there currently are none. Now, if I could tell you everything I know about male infertility, trust me, I would. I love to talk. My family can attest. I would be up here forever. I would take up all the time. All the producers would start playing the cut music and escort me off stage and probably draw the curtains and whatnot. But so instead of doing all that, I'd like to leave you with a few rays of hope and a few action steps. One, the stigma and shame behind male infertility is a major problem and is the major reason why it goes so unspoken. Societal pressure can make men experiencing infertility feel isolated and alone. Let's talk more openly about this, and let's destigmatize male fertility. Second, for the men in the audience, consider adding a fertility specialist, to your annual checkups if you're concerned about your fertility. Third, while there are a number of exposures that we can't avoid due to their ever-presence, consider adopting lifestyle changes if you're using substances or consuming products that specifically impact your fertility. The earlier you stop this, the better chance your fertility can improve. And finally, while there are some very, very elegant and successful treatments that can treat male infertility, there's a large percentage of that population who have no treatment options at all. So please, champion causes that seek to expand treatments for male infertility. My hope is that one day, all families that would like to have a child can. Hey, buddy. Thank you.